What if I told you that reaching those really big goals,
Hmm.
mastering something tough, leading a tricky project, sticking with it years after maybe others have quit? What if that isn't mainly about the natural talent you started
Hmm. That feels, yeah, a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? We
with?
often hear these stories, right? Prodigies, people who just seem to get it
I
instantly.
know. You think, okay, they just have that thing.
Exactly. They're just built different.
But the work we're looking at today really pushes back against that idea. We're doing a deep dive into psychologist Angela Duckworth's research, specifically drawing from her book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance.
Right.
And our mission here is to really unpack what she means by grit, get into her argument for why it might actually matter more than talent, and crucially, look at how you might be able to cultivate more of it yourself.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how she even got started on this. It wasn't some like abstract theory. She was teaching math, seventh graders, I think, in New York.
Right. Public school?
Yeah, and she noticed something. Well, interesting. The kids who weren't necessarily the naturals, the ones who didn't pick things up super fast,
Hmm.
some of those kids were actually doing better in the long run, outperforming the ones who seemed, initially gifted.
So it wasn't about that first spark.
Apparently not always. It seemed to be more about who kept grinding, who put in the work, who showed up day after day. That observation really kicked off her whole research journey.
Which led her to this idea of grit, defining it as this combination, passion and perseverance,
Hmm.
but specifically for very long-term goals.
That long-term piece is key, isn't it?
It seems so. It's that sustained commitment, that kind of refusal to give up on something you care about, even when it gets really, really hard.
Okay, so let's break down those two main parts she talks about. First up is passion.
And passion here, it's not
Yeah.
just like a flash in the pan excitement, is it?
No, not at all. That's a really important distinction. She describes it more as this deep, um, enduring interest, like a genuine love or enthusiasm for something that keeps you engaged over, well, over the long haul. Months, years, maybe even longer.
So it's the thing that keeps pulling you back, not just a hobby you dabble in.
Exactly. It's that consistent engagement. Okay, so that's passion. The other side of the coin is perseverance.
This sounds like the engine room, the part that does the heavy lifting.
Totally. Perseverance is that ability to just keep going through the tough stuff, the obstacles, the failures, which are inevitable, right?
Oh, definitely.
It's about enduring those hardships, staying focused, keeping that effort up, even when progress feels slow, or maybe you can't even see it yet.
Okay, so grit is having that deep, steady interest, the passion, and having the resilience, the toughness to keep working at it, keep pushing through whatever walls you hit.
Yeah, I like that. And her argument is that this combo, passion plus perseverance, is actually a better predictor of success, especially long-term success, than just raw talent alone. Because those really big, meaningful achievements, they almost always take a lot of time and sustained effort. Talent might get you off the starting blocks faster,
Hmm.
but grit is what keeps you running the marathon all the way to the finish line.
Which brings us right to Duckworth's main point, maybe the most controversial bit,
Mm.
that grit is more important than talent.
Yeah, it definitely goes against the grain because we celebrate talent so much in our culture. But she backs it up with some pretty interesting studies.
Like what?
Well, she looked at people in really different contexts, like kids competing in the National Spelling Bee. You'd think that's all about innate verbal smarts, right?
Absolutely. Or IQ.
Or she studied cadets going through the really intense training at West Point Military Academy, super demanding, physically, mentally.
You bet. The beast barracks, all that.
Right. And in both of those very different settings, she measured things like IQ or standardized test scores as talent indicators.
Okay.
And she also measured their grit using questionnaires assessing their passion and perseverance for long-term goals. And guess what?
Grit was the better predictor.
Consistently. Grit predicted who would make it further in the spelling bee or who would successfully complete the grueling West Point training much more reliably than the talent measures did.
Wow. That's that's pretty compelling evidence.
It really is. And it led her to develop this simple but really powerful formula. She calls it effort counts twice.
Effort counts twice. Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that work?
Okay, so it goes like this. Part 1, skill equals talent multiplied by effort.
Skill, talent x effort. Makes sense. You apply effort to your natural ability to get better at something.
Exactly. Even if your starting talent isn't huge, putting in the effort builds your skill level. But then comes part 2.
Okay.
Achievement equals skill multiplied by effort.
Wait. Achievement, skill. times effort again.
Yes, that's the punchline. Effort shows up twice. So talent is where you start, right? It influences how quickly you build skill when you apply effort. That's the first multiplication. But then to actually achieve something with that skill, win the competition, finish the project, whatever it is, you have to apply more effort to your skill.
So effort is like a double multiplier.
Precisely. It boosts your talent into skill, and it leverages your skill into actual results, into achievement. So the secret sauce, according to this model, isn't just having the talent. It's the relentless, consistent application of effort over time. That's what really drives high achievement.
Wow. Yeah, when you put it like that, it really shifts the focus away from just being naturally good at something.
It puts the power back in the doing.
It's the work itself.
Exactly. And Duckworth really emphasizes this, that consistent, often daily effort is what separates the highest achievers. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about the disciplined commitment to showing up and putting in the work.
And she links this directly to the concept of deliberate practice, right?
Yeah.
Which comes from the work of psychologist Anders Ericsson.
Yes, deliberate practice is kind of the methodology for applying that effort effectively. It's not just, putting in hours aimlessly.
Right, not just noodling around.
Not at all. It's
Yeah.
very specific. It involves intentionally pushing yourself just beyond your current capabilities, stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right.
It means identifying specific weaknesses and focusing your practice on those areas, setting really clear, often challenging goals for each practice session, and giving it your absolute undivided attention, full concentration.
And crucially, it involves being okay with messing up, accepting failure.
Oh, totally. Failure isn't just likely, it's necessary. It's feedback. It tells you exactly where you need to adjust and focus your effort next. So the people who reach the very top, they commit to thousands of hours of this kind of highly focused, deliberate practice. That's how they systematically improve and build extraordinary skills.
Okay, so grit isn't just this vague willpower thing.
Yeah.
Duckworth actually breaks it down further, identifying 4 specific psychological elements or assets that contribute to it, that help you build it.
Yeah, like 4 pillars holding it up. And you can work on these pillars. The first one is interest.
Which sounds like it connects right back to that passion component we talked about earlier.
It does, absolutely. It's the foundation. You have to find something that genuinely fascinates you, that sparks your curiosity enough that you want to stick with it. It's hard to persevere if you don't actually care about the destination.
Right, makes sense. So finding that real, authentic interest is step 1. It fuels the passion.
Right. Then the second element is practice.
Which ties into what we just discussed, deliberate practice.
Exactly. It's the commitment to the grind. Showing up, doing the work, constantly trying to improve, pushing your limits, and importantly, learning from your mistakes rather than being defeated by them. Grit demands that discipline.
Okay, interest, practice. What's the third one?
The third is purpose.
Purpose. Meaning
Connecting your effort to something bigger than just yourself. Duckworth found that grit gets a significant boost when you believe that what you're working on matters, that it has a positive impact on others or contributes to the well-being of the world in some way.
So seeing how your work fits into a bigger picture.
Yeah, that sense of purpose can provide really powerful motivation, especially when you hit those inevitable rough patches. It helps you keep going.
Interest, practice, purpose, and the fourth element,
The fourth is hope.
hope. Not just wishful thinking, I assume.
No, not like blind optimism. It's more specific. It's the belief, often built through experience, that your own efforts can make a difference, that persistence will lead to improvement. It's about maintaining confidence that you can overcome challenges and eventually succeed if you keep trying, even after setbacks.
So it's kind of resilient optimism, the
Right.
belief that you can influence your future through effort.
Exactly. Hope, in this sense, is what fuels perseverance. It keeps you going when things look bleak.
Interest, practice, purpose, hope. Those are the 4 psychological building blocks of grit. And maybe the most important takeaway from all this, for me anyway, is Duckworth's strong stance that grit is not innate.
Yes, this is huge. It's not some fixed trait you're just born with, like eye color. It's much more like a muscle. It can be developed. You can actively strengthen your grit over time through conscious effort and practice.
So if someone's listening right now and thinking, yeah, I wish I had more of that stick-to-itness, what can they actually do? What does Duckworth suggest for building grit?
Okay, well, it really follows from those 4 elements. First, find your passion. or at least explore potential interests. This takes effort, trying things out, maybe some trial and error.
Okay, don't expect it to just appear.
Right. But once you find something that resonates, that sparks that genuine interest, then you commit to it. That's the foundation.
Then what?
Second, pursue long-term goals. Set goals that actually matter to you, goals that will require sustained effort over time. Train yourself to look beyond immediate rewards and focus on that bigger picture.
Delay gratification,
Pretty
essentially.
much.
Yeah.
Third, embrace failure. Actively work on reframing setbacks. See them not as stop signs, but as data points. Learning opportunities. What can I learn from this? How can I adjust? Building that resilience is key.
Okay, find passion, pursue long goals, embrace failure, and the last one must be practice.
You got it. Fourth, focus on deliberate practice. Commit to that process of continuous, focused improvement. Break down the skills you need, pinpoint your weaknesses, and put in the hard, concentrated effort, especially on the stuff that feels difficult or uncomfortable. That's where the growth happens.
It sounds like hard work, but also achievable. Things you can actually choose to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also worth remembering that grit isn't just an individual thing. Our environment plays a role too. Duckworth talks about how parents, teachers, coaches, leaders, how they can help foster grit in others.
Oh, interesting. How so? What can parents do, for example?
A big one for parents is praising effort and process, not just innate talent or easy wins. Saying, wow, you worked really hard on that problem is often more beneficial long-term than, wow, you're so smart.
Because it reinforces the value of the work itself.
Yes, and it helps cultivate what Carol Dweck calls a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities aren't fixed, but can be developed through dedication and hard work. That mindset is fundamental to grit.
Okay, and what about teachers or educators?
Similar principles apply. They can help students see the purpose behind what they're learning, connect it to bigger ideas. They can structure activities that reward persistence and effort, not just quick right answers, and really create a classroom culture where challenges are seen as normal, expected parts of learning opportunities to grow, not reasons to feel inadequate.
Making it safe to struggle a bit.
Exactly. And for leaders in, say, a workplace, leaders can be powerful role models by demonstrating grit themselves, sticking with tough projects, being open about challenges. They can keep the focus on meaningful long-term goals for the organization, provide real opportunities and support for employees to learn and improve their skills. Basically, build a culture where effort, resilience, and learning from mistakes are genuinely valued and rewarded.
It really takes a village to build grit then. Or at least, the village can help a lot.
It certainly helps. While grit is ultimately personal, the environment can definitely make it easier or harder to develop and sustain.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway from this deep dive into Angela Duckworth's work seems crystal clear. Talent matters, sure, gives you a start. But it's grit, that blend of deep passion and relentless perseverance for long-term goals that really drives significant achievement over time.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it breaks down into passion and perseverance. We've looked at why it often beats talent, especially with that effort counts twice idea.
Right.
And we've touched on those four key psychological ingredients: interest, practice, purpose, and hope.
And maybe the most hopeful part of all, it's not fixed. Grit is something you can actively build. Through deliberate choices like finding what you care about, setting big goals, learning from failure, and committing to that focused, deliberate practice.
And it's something we can encourage in each other, too, through how we parent, teach, and lead.
So for everyone listening, think about your own life for a second. Maybe there's a skill you want to master, a project that's stalled, a challenge that feels overwhelming. Where might you be, perhaps unconsciously, waiting for talent to show up or blaming a lack of it?
And where instead could you intentionally choose to apply a bit more grit, a bit more focused effort?
Maybe think about that effort counts twice formula. What's one small, concrete step you could take this week? Just one tiny thing to lean into applying effort. Could it be 15 minutes of focused practice on something hard? Could it be taking a moment to reconnect with why that goal matters to you, finding that purpose again?
What small, consistent effort could you start applying, maybe even right now?